Fox Girl graphic design student keeps drawing me in her sketchbook. On Kaylin, a human and a fox woman formed an alliance that would shatter centuries of tradition, exposing a conspiracy reaching across star systems, all because she sketched him to calm her shaking hands. Silas first noticed Maeve on the grassy quad of Kaylin Interstellar Academy, sketching. He saw her there almost every day, a constant presence amidst the shifting tides of students. Her soft brown hair, streaked with lighter strands, framed a face often hidden behind a cascade of cream-colored fur. She wore the same paint-stained hoodie, its worn fabric a testament to countless hours spent with brush or stylus. What caught his attention, beyond the unusual sight of a fox woman hunched over a physical sketchbook in an era of holographic displays, was her intensity. Her hazel eyes, sharp and focused, never wavered from her page, as if the world outside ceased to exist. He wondered what she captured with such fierce dedication. One afternoon, a lull settled over the quad. Most students had dispersed for their next classes or hurried to grab lunch. Maeve remained, engrossed in her work. Silas, an art history student with an appreciative eye for all forms of expression, felt an unusual pull. He had seen her vibrant digital murals displayed on campus, intricate designs blending organic shapes with futuristic lines. He remembered one piece specifically, a public installation near the main lecture hall. It depicted a bustling interspecies market, but if you looked closely, a tiny, almost invisible glyph was repeated in the background architecture, a symbol of delicate balance. He wondered if she intended it as a personal signature. He gathered his courage, a friendly smile already forming. "Excuse me," he said, his voice gentle so as not to startle her. Maeve flinched, her ears twitching before she slowly raised her head. Her eyes, wide with surprise, met his. A blush, faint but noticeable, spread across her furred cheeks. She quickly moved to cover her sketchbook with one hand. "I didn't mean to interrupt," Silas continued, taking a respectful step back. "I just wanted to say your work is incredible. That mural by the lecture hall, the one with the market." Her guard lowered slightly, a flicker of curiosity replacing the initial alarm. "You mean the Viridian exchange piece?" she asked, her voice soft, a hint of an unfamiliar accent in its lilt. "Yes, that one," Silas confirmed, his smile widening. "The detail work is stunning. Especially that small glyph repeated in the archways. It's almost hidden, but it adds so much depth." Maeve stared at him, her tail giving a nervous, almost imperceptible twitch. "You noticed that?" She breathed, her hand falling away from her sketchbook. Her gaze dropped to her lap, her fingers fumbling with the edge of the page. "Most people don't. It's just a small traditional motif from my home world." "It's a beautiful touch," Silas insisted, genuinely impressed. "It shows incredible attention to detail. You're a graphic design student, right?" "Yes," she mumbled, still not quite meeting his eyes. She picked up her charcoal stick, turning it over and over in her grasp. The tremor in her hands was suddenly visible. "I am Maeve." "Silas," he offered, extending a hand. She hesitated for a moment, then lightly touched her fingers to his. Her hand felt warm, delicate. "I hope I haven't bothered you. I just really admire your talent." Maeve took a deep breath, her shoulders rising and falling. She looked at him directly then, her hazel eyes holding a raw honesty that disarmed him. "No, you haven't bothered me, Silas. It's just that I get easily flustered." And she paused, glancing at the partially covered sketchbook. "I was drawing you." Silas felt a jolt of surprise, a warmth spreading through him. He hadn't expected such directness. "Oh," he said, a small laugh escaping him. "Is that so? I thought I noticed you looking this way sometimes." Her ears drooped slightly, a sign of her unease. "It's not, I don't mean to be strange. It's just when I get overwhelmed or my anxiety is bad, drawing helps. And you're often here in a quiet corner reading. You're a very still subject." She gestured vaguely at the bustling campus around them. "Kaylin is very different from Viridia. The academy program, the deadlines, the pressure. It can be a lot. Drawing helps me focus, calm my hands." She held them up, and Silas saw the slight tremor again, more pronounced now. Silas's expression softened with understanding. He had seen similar struggles in other students, though rarely articulated with such quiet vulnerability. "I understand," he said gently. "It sounds like you're under a lot of pressure." He thought of the intricate detail in her public work, the sheer effort it must take. "Your home world, Viridia, has strict artistic traditions, doesn't it? I've read a little about them in my art history modules." Maeve nodded, her gaze distant for a moment. "Very strict. The Guild of Pure Forms dictates everything. Deviation is discouraged. My family expects a lot. My place at Kalen, it's a huge opportunity but also a burden." She sighed, a small, weary sound. "I often feel like I'm balancing on a knife edge." Silas felt a profound empathy for her. Her honesty, her quiet admission of vulnerability pulled at something within him. He saw not just a talented artist, but someone struggling beneath a weight of expectation. "Well," he began, a genuine idea forming in his mind. "If drawing me helps, I could, pose for you, properly. Whenever you need to calm your hands or just want a subject. I'm usually around. I could even bring a book. Stay still." Maeve's eyes widened again, a different kind of surprise this time, mixed with a hesitant hope. Her tail gave another small, almost involuntary twitch, but this time it seemed less nervous, more curious. "You would?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "You wouldn't mind?" "Not at all," Silas assured her, his smile warm and genuine. "I'd be happy to. Art is important, and if I can help you find a little peace, then that's a good thing. We could even schedule it if that makes it easier for you." He gestured around the quiet quad. "Maybe after classes when it's like this." A small, genuine smile touched Maeve's lips, chasing away some of the tension in her face. It transformed her features, revealing a gentle beauty. The tremor in her hands seemed to lessen. "That would be incredibly kind, Silas," she said, her voice gaining a little strength. "Thank you, really." Silas felt a spark ignite between them, a warmth that had nothing to do with the afternoon sun. It was the quiet understanding, the shared moment of vulnerability and unexpected generosity. He had only meant to offer a compliment, but he had found something far deeper. A connection, forged in the quiet vulnerability of an artist and the simple empathy of a stranger. "It's no trouble at all, Maeve," he replied, his gaze holding hers. "Consider it done." Consider it done. Silas found a quiet spot on the quad a few days later, a comfortable bench beneath a sprawling kaolin tree, its bioluminescent leaves casting a soft, shifting glow. He opened his reader, ready to pose. Maeve arrived shortly after, her digital sketchbook clutched in her hands, her tail giving a nervous flick. She settled opposite him, a small distance away, setting up her portable easel. "Ready when you are, Maeve," Silas said, offering a reassuring smile. He adjusted his posture, finding a relaxed, natural position. Maeve nodded, her gaze already fixed on him. Her initial strokes were hesitant, almost tentative, a stark contrast to the bold lines of her public murals. Silas watched her, not overtly, but he observed the slight tremor in her hands as she worked, the focused furrow of her brow. He remained still, a silent anchor. As the days turned into a routine, their sessions became a quiet ritual. Silas would read or simply observe the campus life, while Maeve sketched. The initial awkwardness faded, replaced by a comfortable silence. Sometimes, a question would break the quiet. "What is art like on your home world, Silas?" Maeve asked one afternoon, her voice softer now, less strained. Her hands, Silas noticed, were steadier. Silas lowered his reader. "On Earth, it's incredibly diverse. We have so many forms, so many philosophies. It's about expression, emotion, challenging perceptions. There's freedom in it. Artists push boundaries, explore new ideas constantly." He paused, considering. "It's a reflection of human experience in all its messiness and beauty." Maeve hummed a low, thoughtful sound. "On Viridia, it is structured, organized. We have the Guild of Pure Forms. They dictate much of what is considered true art. Tradition is paramount. Precision, adherence to established styles, that is what is valued most." Her voice held a subtle undercurrent of weariness. Innovation is often seen as deviation, not progress. Silas listened, sensing the weight of her words. That sounds incredibly restrictive. Does it leave room for individual voice? Maeve averted her gaze for a moment, focusing on a detail in her sketch. Not much. We are taught to master the forms, to honor the past, to replicate beauty, not necessarily create something entirely new from within. She looked back at him, a flicker of something raw in her eyes. My program here at Kalen is meant to broaden my horizons, but the expectations from Veridia remain absolute. Silas understood. He saw the conflict in her, the clash between her innate artistic spirit and the rigid dogma she carried. It must be difficult, balancing those two worlds. It is, she admitted, her tail giving a slow, almost melancholic swish. Sometimes I feel I am two different artists, and neither is truly me. Their conversations continued over subsequent sessions, touching on various aspects of their lives at Kalen. They discussed the diverse student body, the challenges of interspecies communication, and the intricate bureaucracy of the academy. Silas found himself sharing stories of his own anxieties, his initial struggles with adapting to Kalen's advanced technology and complex social dynamics. Maeve, in turn, spoke more openly about her academic pressures, her fears of failing to meet her family's formidable expectations. They discovered a shared sense of being outsiders, even in a place designed for diverse integration. This common ground, unexpected and comforting, deepened their connection. One brisk Kalen morning, Silas spotted Maeve in the digital rendering lab, her fur bristling with frustration. Her usually organized workstation was a chaotic mess of data slates and a flickering holoscreen. He paused at the doorway, observing her for a moment before approaching. Her tail was lashing, a clear sign of distress. "Everything all right, Maeve?" he asked gently. She jumped, startled, her ears swiveling towards him. "Silas, I know, not really. This rendering program, it's not cooperating. The assignment is due in 2 cycles and it keeps crashing. I can't get the volumetric projections to stabilize." She gestured wildly at the screen, which displayed a complex, partially rendered architectural design that shimmered and distorted. "It's a critical component for my Viridian architectural history class, and if I don't submit it perfectly, my advisor will be furious." Silas moved closer, examining the holoscreen. He wasn't a digital artist, but his art history studies often involved analyzing various digital reconstructions. He noticed a recurring error message in a small corner of the interface. "Have you checked the memory allocation for the projection matrix?" he asked, pointing to the error. Sometimes, Kalen's system defaults to lower settings for large-scale volumetric work, especially with complex light refraction algorithms. Maeve blinked, her frustration giving way to a spark of curiosity. "Memory allocation. I assumed the program would manage that automatically." She quickly navigated through a series of menus. "You're right. It's set to minimum. How did you know?" "Just a guess," Silas replied, a small smile touching his lips. "I've seen similar issues when students try to run high-fidelity simulations in the history department. It's a common oversight with these older rendering engines. Try increasing it to maximum." Maeve adjusted the setting. The holoscreen flickered, then stabilized. The distorted volumetric projection snapped into crisp, clear focus. A sigh of profound relief escaped her. Her tail gave a happy, rapid thump against the floor. "Silas, you saved me," she exclaimed, turning to him, her eyes wide with gratitude. "I would have spent hours more, probably missed the deadline, and my instructor would have. I don't even want to think about it." She shook her head, a soft chuckle escaping her. "I was so focused on the artistic parameters, I completely overlooked the technical. Thank you." Silas felt a quiet satisfaction. "No problem at all. Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes helps, especially when you're under pressure." Maeve looked at him, a warmth entering her expression that went beyond simple thanks. "You are always so calm," she observed, a hint of wonder in her voice. "And you see things others miss." She paused, her gaze holding his. "I appreciate your reliability, Silas, more than you know." Her words resonated with him. He had only offered to pose, a simple act of kindness, but through their shared moments, the quiet conversations, and now this small act of practical help, a deeper connection had undeniably formed. It was more than empathy, it was a mutual reliance, a growing trust that promised something significant. He saw the strength in her, even beneath the anxiety, and she, he hoped, saw a steady presence in him. The challenges of navigating Kalen, the pressures of their diverse backgrounds, all seemed a little less daunting when faced together. The relief from the rendering crisis was short-lived. Maeve's comm unit chimed, a sharp, insistent tone that cut through the quiet satisfaction of the lab. Her tail, which had been gently thumping, stiffened. She glanced at the screen, her ears flattening almost imperceptibly. The name displayed, Veridian Family Council, seemed to drain the color from her face. "Everything all right?" Silas asked, sensing the sudden shift in her demeanor. Maeve didn't respond immediately. She tapped the screen, activating the message. Her eyes scanned the text, wider with each passing line. Her hands began to tremble, a familiar sight to Silas now, but this time it was different. It wasn't the gentle tremor of artistic focus. It was a frantic, uncontrolled shaking that spread through her entire frame. Her breathing became shallow, quick gasps catching in her throat. Silas watched, his calm exterior masking a surge of concern. Her fur seemed to bristle, and her usually expressive face was contorted in a mask of pure distress. She clutched her comm unit so tightly her knuckles whitened. A low, guttural sound escaped her, a whimper of fear and frustration. This was beyond anxiety about a deadline. This was raw, visceral panic. "Maeve," Silas said gently, stepping closer. He kept his voice low and steady, a grounding presence amidst her burgeoning storm. "Look at me." Her eyes, glazed with unshed tears, finally found his. They were wild, unfocused. "Just breathe," he instructed, his voice a quiet anchor. "Match my breathing, slow and deep. Can you do that?" He demonstrated, taking a slow, deliberate breath, then exhaling just as slowly. Maeve watched him, her chest heaving. She tried to emulate him, but her breaths remained ragged, catching in her throat. "It's all right," Silas continued, maintaining eye contact. "You're safe here. Nothing is happening right now, just focus on your breath. In, out." He moved a hand slightly, indicating the rhythm. "Good, that's good." Slowly, agonizingly, her breathing began to even out. The frantic shaking lessened, though a persistent tremor still ran through her limbs. Tears welled in her eyes, finally spilling over and tracing paths down her cheeks, but the wildness began to recede, replaced by a profound weariness. She slumped against a nearby console, the comm unit still clutched in her hand. They want to pull me," she whispered, her voice hoarse, barely audible. "My grades, my performance. They say I'm deviating, not adhering to the path." Silas remained silent for a moment, letting her gather herself. He offered no platitudes, just his quiet, unwavering presence. He knew from their earlier conversations that the path was tied to Veridian artistic traditions. "What does deviating mean?" he asked softly when she seemed calmer. Maeve took another shaky breath. "It means my work here at Kalen, my digital murals, they're not traditional enough for Veridia. My family, they have expectations, high expectations, for me to elevate our lineage through art." She looked at the comm unit, then back at Silas, her vulnerability stark. "The Guild of Pure Forms, they monitor everything. They control everything artistic on Veridia. They dictate what is considered art, what is worthy, and my family is deeply connected to them." She explained how the Guild's influence permeated every aspect of Veridian artistic life, from academy curriculums to public commissions. Their strictures valued precision, symmetry, and adherence to ancient, revered forms, often shunning innovation or individualistic expression. Maeve's digital murals, with their organic flow and emotional depth, were seen as a departure, a betrayal even of her heritage. "My scholarship, my place here at Kalen, it's all contingent on their approval," Maeve confessed, her voice thick with despair. They want me to return, to pursue a more appropriate artistic path. They said if my next major project isn't in line with Viridian principles, they will withdraw their sponsorship. Her words painted a vivid picture of a life not her own, an artistic soul trapped by centuries of rigid expectation. Silas saw the burden she carried, the conflict between her innate talent and the crushing weight of tradition. He understood now why her hands shook, why anxiety was her constant companion. She wasn't just an artist. She was a vessel for her family's ambition, an instrument of a powerful artistic authority. "But your work is incredible, Maeve," Silas countered, his tone firm. "Those murals, they speak. They have a life to them that traditional art often lacks. That's not deviation, that's evolution." Maeve shook her head. "They don't see it that way. They see chaos where there should be order, emotion where there should be stoicism. They want me to create pure forms, devoid of individual interpretation, merely echoing the past." Her gaze drifted to her hands, still trembling slightly. "I feel like I'm losing myself, Silas, like I'm being erased." A quiet resolve settled over Silas. He had witnessed her talent, her passion, and now her profound pain. He saw a way to help her, not just technically, but artistically, emotionally. "What if we found a way to bridge those worlds?" Silas suggested, his eyes alight with an idea. "Your talent is undeniable, Maeve. And my perspective from Earth, from a culture that celebrates diversity in art, it's very different from Viridia's. What if we combine them?" Maeve looked at him confused. "Combine them how?" "A collaboration," Silas elaborated, a thoughtful expression on his face. "A joint art project. We could blend our styles. Your digital precision, your innate sense of form with human emotional depth, with the kind of organic, expressive elements you naturally gravitate towards. It wouldn't be purely Viridian, but it wouldn't be purely human either. It would be something new, something uniquely yours, born from both worlds." He leaned forward slightly, his earnestness palpable. "It could be a way for you to find your own voice, Maeve. To process this internal conflict, to show them that art doesn't have to be limited by tradition. That it can grow, adapt, and still be profoundly beautiful. It could be your statement." Maeve stared at him, the suggestion hanging in the air. The idea was audacious, almost reckless considering the guild's strictures. Her family would be furious. Yet a spark, faint but persistent, ignited within her. It was a terrifying thought, but also exhilarating. The possibility of creating something truly her own, something that honored her talent without sacrificing her identity. "A collaboration," she repeated, testing the words. Her heart pounded, not from panic this time, but from a burgeoning sense of hope. "With you." Silas nodded, a gentle smile gracing his lips. "Yes, with me. We could show them the strength of unexpected alliances, the beauty in blending perspectives. What do you say, Maeve? Are you willing to try?" She looked at his steady, reassuring gaze, then at her own trembling hands, and finally back to the message on her comm unit, its threat still palpable. The fear remained, a tight knot in her stomach, but Silas's proposal offered a glimmer of defiance, a path forward that wasn't dictated by ancient rules. It was a chance to fight, not just for her scholarship, but for herself. A slow, determined nod began. "Yes, Silas," she said, her voice stronger now, laced with a newfound resolve. "I'll try." The word hung in the air, a fragile promise, an unspoken pact that opened a door to an uncertain, yet undeniably shared future. The digital canvas shimmered, a blank slate awaiting their combined vision. Silas and Maeve stood before it in the secure, private studio Silas had managed to reserve, a space meant for advanced collaborative projects. This studio offered both privacy and high-end rendering capabilities. "Where do we start?" Maeve asked, her initial resolve now laced with a tremor of artistic uncertainty. Silas gestured to the screen. "Your work always has such incredible structure, Maeve. The way you build forms, the underlying geometry. Let's start with that framework, but instead of the rigid lines Viridia expects, let's explore organic growth. Like the way Kaelin's native flora adapts to different light cycles." Maeve nodded, her fingers already hovering over the console. So, a foundation that suggests order, but then allows for spontaneous, almost wild expression. Exactly, Sila's confirmed. Think of it as a tree, strong roots, a firm trunk but branches that reach and twist, finding their own path, each leaf unique. He began sketching a concept on a nearby physical pad, quick, fluid lines depicting an abstract form that seemed to unfurl from within itself. Maeve watched him, intrigued. Her own work often started with precise mathematical models, yet she yearned for the freedom his lines suggested. She took the lead on the digital interface, her hands moving with an instinctive grace. She began constructing a complex skeletal structure, a network of shimmering, almost translucent filaments. It was Viridian in its meticulous detail, but Silas's influence nudged her to allow subtle imperfections, slight asymmetries that hinted at life, not just flawless replication. Silas then brought in his contribution, overlaying textures and colors, drawing from Earth's vibrant biodiversity. He suggested layers of visual information that evoked emotional responses, not just aesthetic ones. He used sophisticated projection mapping to create moving light patterns that shifted across Maeve's structure, giving it a dynamic, breathing quality. Their dialogue flowed easily, a blend of artistic theory and technical instruction. "This is incredible, Silas," Maeve breathed one afternoon, stepping back from the evolving piece. It was a digital sculpture, a swirling vortex of interconnected elements, both precise and wildly expressive. It pulsed with an inner light, a visual heartbeat. "It feels like a part of me I didn't know how to express." "It's a part of both of us," Silas replied, a warmth in his voice. "And it's beautiful." Days turned into weeks. Their collaborative project grew, consuming their free time. The studio became their sanctuary, a place where their ideas intertwined and their connection deepened. One evening, after a particularly productive session, Silas noticed something amiss. "Did you save the updated rendering of the central core before we left yesterday?" he asked Maeve, scrutinizing the file directory. Maeve frowned, tapping her chin. "Of course, I always do. It's my last step." "Why?" "The timestamp on the core file is 2 days old," Silas pointed out, zooming in on the metadata. "And a few of the secondary texture files are corrupted. Just enough to be annoying, not enough to be catastrophic." Maeve gasped. "Corrupted, but how? The system runs daily diagnostics." They spent an hour restoring the files from a backup, a minor inconvenience but a jarring one. A few days later, a critical digital brush set Maeve had custom-built for the project vanished from her personal drive, only to reappear in a completely different, obscure folder. "This isn't just a glitch, Maeve," Silas stated, his voice low, his eyes narrowed in thought. He had been monitoring the studio's internal logs, something he picked up from his art history research into digital forgeries. The file relocation wasn't random. It was a specific move, then a deletion of the original path. And the core file corruption. It was precise, targeting only certain rendering parameters, leaving others intact. Maeve's hands began to tremble slightly. "Are you saying someone is doing this on purpose?" Her mind immediately flashed to the guild, to her family's threats. "It looks that way," Silas confirmed, his gaze serious. "These aren't accidents. They're too specific, too inconveniently timed. Someone is trying to disrupt our work." The incidents continued, escalating subtly. A project folder would suddenly be password protected, forcing them to waste time contacting system administration. A critical piece of their collaborative code would be subtly altered, introducing a rendering error that took hours to trace. Maeve found herself constantly checking and rechecking every file, every setting. Her anxiety, previously calmed by the art, began to resurface. "This is deliberate," Maeve said one evening, her voice tight with frustration after discovering a key algorithmic sequence had been completely wiped. "They want us to give up." Her eyes flashed with a steely resolve. "But we won't." Silas watched her, a surge of admiration filling him. The initial fear was still there, but now it was tempered by defiance. "No, we won't," he agreed. "But we need to be smarter. We need to understand who they are and why." Maeve grew fiercely protective of their work. She implemented stronger digital security measures, spending extra hours encrypting their files and setting up intricate access logs. She also became acutely aware of their surroundings. Her gaze lingered on students who seemed to watch them a moment too long, on the subtle shifts in the academy's security presence around their studio wing. "I think we're being watched, Silas," she murmured one afternoon, her voice barely a whisper as they walked through a crowded corridor. "Not just our project, us." Silas didn't dismiss her. He had noticed it too, the subtle shift in corridor traffic when they were present, the way conversations seemed to quiet just a beat too long as they passed. "Our alliance is unusual, Maeve," he acknowledged, keeping his voice neutral. "An interspecies collaboration of this nature, especially one that challenges established artistic norms, would definitely draw attention." "But this feels hostile," Maeve countered, her tail twitching with unease. "Like they don't just disapprove, they want to stop us." She tightened her grip on the small data slate she carried, which held a backup of their latest project iteration. "My family, the Guild, they believe in tradition, in purity of form. Our project is the antithesis of everything they represent." Silas nodded, the pieces clicking into place. "And your scholarship, your future. They want to control your art, Maeve. This collaboration, this new style, it's a direct challenge to their authority over you." They stood outside the studio, the door now reinforced with Maeve's added security protocols. The vibrant, breathing digital sculpture inside represented more than just an art piece. It was a declaration, a testament to unexpected alliances and the beauty of blending perspectives. But it was also a beacon, drawing the unwanted gaze of those who feared change, who clung to ancient traditions. They both knew their artistic partnership, and the quiet, growing connection between them was attracting more than just academic interest. It was attracting the focused, deliberate attention of powerful, traditionalist factions determined to protect their established order at any cost. The subtle acts of sabotage were merely the opening moves in a much larger, more dangerous game. Maeve received the first official notification during a data analysis seminar. Her academic portal, usually a beacon of her meticulous progress, flashed with an alert. Academic probation, unsatisfactory performance. Her vision blurred. Her hands, which only moments before had been confidently manipulating a holographic display, began to tremble uncontrollably. Silas, seated beside her, noticed the sudden rigidity in her posture. He leaned closer. "Maeve, what is it?" She pointed a shaking finger at the screen, unable to speak. Silas read the fabricated reports, missed deadlines, incomplete assignments, low scores on projects she had already submitted. He recognized the insidious nature of the attack. "This isn't right. These are lies." "My scholarship," Maeve whispered, her voice cracking. "They're trying to send me back." The panic, a familiar, unwelcome guest, tightened its grip. She felt the walls closing in, the weight of Viridian tradition pressing down. Silas took her hand, his touch steadying. "We're not letting that happen. We'll fight this." His resolve was immediate, unwavering. He accessed her portal, cross-referencing dates and submission logs. The discrepancies were glaring but subtly hidden within layers of digital bureaucracy. Someone had gone to great lengths to make it appear legitimate. That evening, they transformed their secure studio into an investigation hub. Silas methodically reviewed Maeve's academic records, while Maeve, though still shaken, used her advanced digital forensic skills to trace the access points. "These aren't just random errors," Silas stated, pulling up a timeline. Every failure report was filed within hours of a major project submission. "And they're all logged through Kalen's General Student Administration interface," Maeve added, her eyes narrowed in concentration. "Not specific department access. It means someone used a low-level account, then masked the source." She worked tirelessly, her fingers flying across the holographic interface, her tail flicking with frustrated determination. I'm seeing a pattern of access originating from within the Viridian student housing sector. The realization hit them simultaneously. A fellow Viridian. Silas watched Maeve's expression harden. Who among your people here would have a reason? Maeve hesitated, then a name surfaced. Kale. He's from a minor noble house, always critical of my deviating style, but he never seemed malicious, just traditional. Traditional enough to ruin your future, Silas challenged softly. We need more than suspicion. We need proof. Maeve nodded. They focused their efforts on identifying Kale's digital signature within the fraudulent entries. It was painstakingly slow work, navigating layers of encrypted data and false trails. Finally, after hours of relentless searching, Silas found it. A unique, almost imperceptible digital watermark embedded in a seemingly innocuous system log. Here, he said, tapping the screen. A private code specific to Viridian Academy students. Only they use it for internal communications. The code led directly to Kale's personal access credentials. The next morning, they confronted Kale in a quiet corner of the Academy's main atrium. He was a lanky Viridian, his fur a muted gray, his expression usually aloof. When he saw them approach, his eyes widened, and a flicker of fear crossed his face. Kale, Maeve began, her voice firm. We know you've been sabotaging my academic standing. His composure crumbled. He stammered, I don't know what you're talking about. But his tail, usually held rigid, twitched nervously, betraying his lie. Silas stepped forward, holding up a data slate displaying the incriminating evidence. We have the logs, Kale. Your unique access signature is on every altered report. Kale visibly flinched. He glanced around as if expecting to be overheard. It wasn't my choice, he blurted out, his voice barely audible. The guild. They made me. Maeve stared, a cold dread seeping into her. The Guild of Pure Forms. Why would they involve you? Kale wrung his hands. They approached my family, offered them prestige, influence if I cooperated. They said your art was a corruption, a danger to Viridian traditions. They wanted to force your return. He finally looked at Maeve, his eyes filled with genuine remorse. They threatened my family's standing if I refused. I had no choice. Silas felt a surge of protective anger. Force her return for what purpose, Kale? Just to control her art. Kale hesitated, then lowered his gaze. They want to arrange a marriage for Maeve, to a powerful family on Viridia, a family whose lineage is intertwined with the guild. It would secure their influence, and your artistic talent would be redirected, used to create works that strictly adhere to their traditions, glorifying their ancient ways. Maeve gasped, stepping back as if struck. The truth was far more insidious than she had imagined. Not just her art, but her entire life, her freedom, was being orchestrated. An arranged marriage, a gilded cage, all to serve the guild's rigid agenda. The anxiety she usually felt was replaced by a burning, incandescent fury. They wanted to erase her. Silas placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch a silent promise of solidarity. He looked at Kale, his expression grave. They're trying to own her. Kale nodded miserably. They see your interspecies collaboration as the ultimate defiance. They believe it threatens the purity of Viridian art, the purity of Viridian bloodlines. They want to make an example of you, Maeve. To bring you back, control your art, and secure their power. The full scope of the conspiracy unfurled before them. The subtle sabotage was merely a prelude. The altered grades, the academic probation, all designed to isolate Maeve, to strip her of her Kalan scholarship, and leave her vulnerable for extraction. The Guild of Pure Forms wasn't just observing. They were actively manipulating her life, attempting to reclaim her and bend her formidable artistic talent to their will. This was a battle for Maeve's very identity, her freedom, and her future. Silas's grip tightened on Maeve's shoulder, a silent vow to stand by her, no matter the cost. Kale, his face pale with shame, avoided their eyes. He stood for a long moment, then looked up at Maeve, a flicker of desperate resolve in his gaze. I have more, Kale said, his voice barely a whisper. Evidence. Communications. They're all on a secure datapad. I copied everything I could find, hoping I would never need it. But now, he trailed off, gesturing vaguely towards the atrium around them. I want to help you fight them, Maeve. Maeve looked at him, her initial fury mixed with surprise. Why now, Kale, after all this? Because what they plan for you, it's wrong, he insisted, his voice gaining a fragile strength. I saw the details, the arranged marriage, the way they intend to crush your spirit. It's not just about tradition for them, it's about power. They threatened my family, but I cannot stand by and watch them do this to you. Not truly. Silas stepped forward. Where is this datapad, Kale? It's hidden in my personal locker, secured, Kale replied, glancing around nervously. Meet me at the north entrance of the student dormitories in 20 minutes. I will bring it. No one will see. Maeve nodded slowly, a new kind of determination hardening her features. All right, Kale, 20 minutes. They watched Kale hurry away, his guilt a visible weight on his shoulders. Silas turned to Maeve, a question in his eyes. He's scared, Maeve said, her voice quiet, but he's also disgusted by what they asked him to do. There's a chance he's telling the truth. The Viridian Guild's influence runs deep, Silas. He would be risking everything. Then we need to be careful, Silas agreed. No risks we can't mitigate. We go to your studio first, then the dorms. No sense in waiting around. They moved quickly, the silence between them filled with the gravity of Kale's confession. At the north entrance of the dormitories, Kale was already waiting, a small, unmarked datapad clutched in his hand. He looked haggard, his eyes darting around. Here, he said, pressing the device into Silas's hand. It's all there, encrypted. The password is my Kalen ID number. Thank you, Kale, Maeve said, her voice sincere. This means a lot. Kale simply nodded, a flicker of relief easing his tense posture. Be careful. They are always watching. He turned and disappeared into the dormitory entrance. Silas and Maeve returned to their secure studio, the datapad a heavy presence in Silas's hand. He connected it to a shielded terminal, entering Kale's ID. The screen flickered, then displayed a complex directory of files. Data logs, encrypted communications, financial transfers, Silas murmured, scrolling through the entries. This is extensive. He wasn't exaggerating. Maeve leaned closer, her eyes scanning the file names. Look at this one. Project Xylo's reorientation. That's what they call the process of bringing artists back into the traditional fold. It's not just about me. They spent the next several hours poring over the evidence. The data logs meticulously documented communication between guild operatives and several Kalen administrators, detailing instructions to alter Maeve's records, fabricate probation notices, and even subtly undermine her project proposals. Financial transfers showed payments from a shell corporation on Viridia to a Kalen administrative account, clearly linking the manipulation to the guild. They have people everywhere, Silas said, his voice low with disbelief. Not just Kale. They've infiltrated the Academy's internal systems. This isn't just about controlling your art, Maeve. This is about controlling information, controlling influence. Maeve felt a cold dread settle in her stomach, quickly replaced by a fierce defiance. They've been planning this for years. Since I first applied to Kalen, they knew I was a risk to their pure forms. My art was always too expressive, too individual for their archaic tastes. One communication log stood out. It outlined a specific plan to unveil Maeve's supposed academic failures at the Interstellar Arts Showcase, using her public humiliation as a tool to justify her immediate recall to Viridia. This would be followed by an expedited arranged marriage, effectively silencing her and consolidating the guild's power. They wanted to use the showcase against you, Silas stated, his jaw tight. Turn your greatest moment into your downfall. Maeve's eyes narrowed. Then we turn their weapon back on them. We use the showcase to expose them, all of them. Silas looked at her, a spark of admiration in his gaze. "That's a bold move, Maeve, but it's risky. They'll try to stop us." "They're already trying to stop me," she countered, her voice firm. "We have Kale's evidence. We have our art. We have each other." A thought struck Silas. Kale. He has more than just these logs. He knows their internal structure, their contacts within the academy. He could be invaluable. Maeve considered this. He's risking everything, his family's standing, his own future. He wouldn't do this lightly. Silas opened a secure channel to Kale. "Kale, it's Silas. We've reviewed the data. It's damning. We need your help to expose them. At the Interstellar Arts Showcase." There was a long pause before Kale's voice came through, hesitant but determined. "What do you need me to do?" Silas outlined their nascent plan. "We need to corroborate these logs. Give us details about their Kalen contacts, any specific weaknesses. We need to prepare our presentation to expose them publicly, using their own tactics against them." Kale took a deep breath. "Their primary contact here is Administrator Reliant. He's been their inside man for years, managing the academic sabotage. He's meticulous but arrogant. He keeps detailed notes, often on a personal data slate he considers unhackable." A personal data slate, Maeve repeated, a plan forming in her mind. "If we could access that, it would be irrefutable." "It's heavily encrypted," Kale warned, "and he never lets it out of his sight. Even when he's sleeping, it's beside his bed in his private office within the administration building." Silas's mind raced. "That's a challenge, but not impossible. We need to make this presentation undeniable. Our collaborative artwork can't just be a statement. It has to be the centerpiece of our counterattack." "Our art," Maeve said, looking at the unfinished digital sculpture on their studio screen. It was a swirling vortex of vibrant hues, blending Earth's organic forms with Viridia's crystalline structures, all imbued with a raw, emotional energy. It was a testament to their combined vision, a defiance of rigid boundaries. It's the ultimate expression of everything they fear: interspecies collaboration, freedom, individuality. "We will complete it," Silas affirmed, placing a hand over hers on the console. "We'll infuse it with even more of our story, our fight. We'll make it so powerful, so undeniable, that no one can dismiss it as mere deviation. It will be a beacon of truth." Their plan began to coalesce. Kale would continue to provide intelligence, mapping out the guild's network within Kalen and pinpointing vulnerabilities. Silas, with his keen eye for detail and strategic thinking, would meticulously prepare the evidence for public presentation, cross-referencing Kale's logs with official Kalen records to highlight the discrepancies. Maeve would pour every ounce of her passion and defiance into their collaborative artwork, ensuring it spoke volumes about freedom, identity, and the beauty of unexpected alliances. "The Interstellar Arts Showcase is in 2 weeks," Maeve said, her gaze fixed on their evolving artwork. "We don't have much time." "Then we make every second count," Silas responded, his voice filled with unwavering resolve. "This isn't just about saving your scholarship, Maeve. This is about exposing a conspiracy, protecting artistic freedom, and showing everyone that true strength comes from breaking down barriers, not building them." Maeve looked at him, her heart swelling with a warmth that transcended anxiety and fear. She saw not just a partner in art, but a true ally, a steadfast protector, and a reflection of the courage she was finding within herself. Their combined artwork, pulsating with digital light, seemed to echo their silent promise. It was more than a project. It was their declaration of war, a testament to the power of their unexpected alliance, and a vivid, defiant celebration of their intertwined spirits. The studio became their world, a crucible where pressure forged their resolve. Every moment was meticulously planned, every digital stroke imbued with purpose. Kale's updates arrived like clockwork, encrypted messages detailing the guild's escalating desperation. He reported attempts to discredit Maeve among Viridian students, whispers of her radical interspecies collaboration reaching the Academy's traditionalist faculty. Silas and Maeve tightened their security protocols, knowing their every move was scrutinized. "They're trying to isolate you," Silas observed, reviewing Kale's latest data packet. It listed a series of anonymous complaints filed against Maeve's general conduct, all subtly hinting at a disregard for Viridian decorum. "These aren't about your art, they're about your character." Maeve scoffed, her fingers flying across the console, refining a crystalline structure in their evolving artwork. "They want me to feel like an outcast, so I'll run back to their protection. They underestimate my resolve." Her focus was fierce, but Silas noticed the subtle tremor in her hands. The pressure was immense. Their collaborative piece pulsed with new energy. It had grown from a dynamic sculpture into a soaring, interconnected network of light and form. Human abstract lines intersected Viridian geometric precision, all anchored by a central, radiant core that seemed to breathe. It was a visual argument for unity, a vibrant rejection of segregation. Each layer told a part of their story: the initial rigid traditions, the intrusion of external forces, and the defiant blossoming of a new, shared vision. Silas spent hours cross-referencing Kale's logs with Kalen's public records, building a meticulous timeline of the guild's interference. He found inconsistencies in administrative approval processes for student events, unusual data access logs, and carefully disguised financial transfers linked to a shell corporation the guild used. "Their fingerprints are everywhere, Maeve, but they're not invisible." One evening, as the Kalen campus dimmed, Maeve slumped over the console, her shoulders heavy. A complex sequence of code had unexpectedly corrupted, undoing hours of delicate animation work. She stared at the screen, her ears drooping slightly. "It's a nightmare. I fixed that sequence an hour ago." Silas moved to her side, his gaze scanning the diagnostics. "It's a stealth-based corruption. Someone injected a nullifying code packet, very sophisticated." He began to work quickly, his fingers dancing over the interface, reconstructing the lost data. "Kale warned us about this. They're trying to exhaust us, make us miss the deadline." "They're succeeding," Maeve whispered, her voice tight with frustration. "What if we can't get it ready in time? What if all this work, all this risk is for nothing?" Her eyes, usually so sharp and determined, clouded with a deep-seated fear. Silas paused, looking at her, not the screen. "It won't be for nothing. We'll fix this. We always do." He watched her for a moment, sensing the fragile edge she was on. "What's really bothering you, Maeve?" She hesitated, then pushed back from the console, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I keep thinking about what they want. They want to control my art, control my life, force me into a marriage, make me a symbol of their pure traditions. My art would become a cage, Silas, a beautiful, gilded cage." Her voice trembled, raw with emotion. "I would lose myself. I would lose who I am, the person you helped me find." Silas listened, his heart aching for her. He knew this fear ran deeper than any academic threat. "That will never happen," he said, his voice soft but firm. He reached out, gently taking her hand. Her fur was warm, slightly damp from stress. "You are not a tool, Maeve. You are an artist, a brilliant, independent spirit. You have the courage of a warrior." He squeezed her hand. "The person you are, the one who challenges ancient traditions, who sees beauty in diversity, who draws strength from vulnerability, that person is indomitable. That person is why we're doing this. You have a voice, Maeve, and it deserves to be heard, not silenced." Maeve looked up, her hazel eyes meeting his, a flicker of hope amidst the fear. "But what if I'm not strong enough? What if the guild is too powerful?" "Then we stand together," Silas replied, his conviction unwavering. "You are not alone in this fight. I am with you. Kale is with you. Our art is with you. Every line, every color, every structure we've created together is a testament to your freedom, to your identity. It's a declaration that you choose your own path." He gestured to their artwork, which now flowed across the studio's main display, a vibrant, living entity. "Look at what we've built. It's not just a collection of pixels, it's the story of you. It's your courage, your heart, your defiance. It's all the things they tried to suppress, now made manifest and undeniable. Maeve turned to the glowing display. The central core of the artwork now pulsed with a new intensity, a swirling vortex of colors that merged human abstract expression with Viridian order, creating a breathtaking synthesis. Around it, the crystalline structures, once rigid, now flowed with organic grace, reaching outwards like branches seeking light. It was a visual representation of her journey from constraint to liberation, a silent scream against oppression, a joyful embrace of self. "It's true," she murmured, a faint smile touching her lips. "It's us." "It is," Silas confirmed, his hand still holding hers. "And it's powerful. It will speak for itself at the showcase. It will tell your story, Maeve, the story of breaking free, of finding your true self, and of the incredible strength that comes from embracing who you are without compromise." A renewed sense of purpose filled her. The fear still lingered, a distant echo, but it was overshadowed by a surge of defiant resolve. With Silas by her side, holding her hand, she knew she wouldn't just survive, she would thrive. Their collaborative artwork was no longer just a project. It was a living emblem of their shared future, a testament to their love, and a beacon for all who dared to defy tradition for the sake of truth. The Kalin Interstellar Arts Showcase buzzed with 1,000 different languages and light patterns, a kaleidoscope of species and cultures converging in the grand exhibition hall. Their collaborative piece occupied the central dome, a shimmering, kinetic sculpture that defied easy classification. Silas stood beside Maeve, his hand brushing her arm, a silent anchor amidst the vibrant chaos. Her fur bristled slightly with nerves, but her gaze remained fixed on their creation. The artwork rotated slowly within its transparent energy field, a seamless blend of human abstract expression and Viridian crystalline precision. It began with the familiar, intricate geometric patterns Maeve had perfected, then fractured into a vibrant, swirling nebula of colors and organic forms, a direct reflection of Silas's influence. Tendrils of light, born from Kalin's advanced holographic projectors, pulsed within its core, mirroring a heartbeat. It was fluid, dynamic, yet anchored by an undeniable structural integrity. Audience members, a diverse mix of humans, Viridians, and dozens of other species from across the sector, murmured in appreciation. They pointed, their varied gestures indicating wonder and intrigue. Some leaned in close, their optical sensors or biological eyes attempting to decode the piece's complex layers. A few even mimicked the gentle sway of its light patterns, captivated by its emotional resonance. "It's magnificent, Maeve," Silas whispered, his voice warm. "It's everything we hoped it would be." Maeve nodded, a fragile smile gracing her lips. "It feels real, more real than anything I've ever made." A wave of pride, tinged with residual anxiety, washed over her. This was her truth, laid bare for the galaxy to see. This was the defiance she had found within herself, nurtured by Silas's unwavering belief. Just then a hush fell over a section of the crowd. A figure pushed through the throng, their stride purposeful and unyielding. It was Envoy Vorlag, a high-ranking official of the Guild of Pure Forms, his traditional Viridian robes stark and unadorned, a clear contrast to the vibrant art surrounding him. His gaze, cold and analytical, swept over their artwork, then settled on Maeve with an unmistakable disapproval. "This is an abomination," Vorlag declared, his voice carrying surprising authority despite its low tone. His words were calibrated to be heard by those nearest, creating a ripple of concern, a grave affront to Viridian tradition and cultural purity. "This art violates every established principle of form, structure, and spiritual reverence." Maeve felt a tremor run through her, a familiar icy grip of fear. Vorlag's presence, his pronouncements, were exactly what she had dreaded. He represented everything she was fighting against. Silas, however, remained calm. He stepped slightly in front of Maeve, a subtle shield. "Envoy Vorlag," Silas said, his voice even and respectful, "this piece represents a synthesis of cultures, a new artistic language." Vorlag scoffed, his gaze dismissive. It represents deviation, an abandonment of our sacred lineage, an impure amalgamation. Furthermore, he continued, turning his full attention to the audience, this student, Maeve, has repeatedly shown disregard for her contractual obligations to the guild, misrepresenting her artistic intentions and engaging in unauthorized collaborations that compromise her future and our heritage. A buzz of confused chatter spread through the crowd. Some Viridian attendees shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the guild's rhetoric. Vorlag pressed his advantage, projecting an official data slate onto a nearby screen. It displayed a distorted version of Maeve's scholarship agreement, highlighting clauses about artistic adherence and familial duty. This alliance, Vorlag continued, gesturing vaguely towards Sila's, is a symptom of her rebellion. It is precisely what we have worked to prevent. We have clear evidence of her intent to abandon her Viridian responsibilities, including a prearranged marriage, for the sake of this chaotic expression. The accusations hung heavy in the air. Maeve's heart pounded. She wanted to lash out, to scream the truth, but her voice caught in her throat. This was the public humiliation the guild had planned. Silas met Vorlag's gaze without flinching. "Envoy," he stated, his voice now firm, "with all due respect, your accusations are founded on manipulation and coercion, not fact." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. "We have evidence. Irrefutable evidence which we obtained with the help of a former guild associate, detailing the guild's systematic attempts to sabotage Maeve's career, suppress her artistic freedom, and force her return to Viridia for your own political and financial gain." Silas then activated his own comm device. A series of data projections flared across the main display, overlaying Vorlag's distorted scholarship agreement. These were Kale's meticulously gathered files, encrypted communications, financial transactions, internal guild memos, and audio logs of conversations detailing the pressure placed on Kale. The documents systematically outlined how the guild had infiltrated Kalen Academy, manufactured false academic reports, and even attempted to corrupt their artwork. The audience gasped. The data was stark, irrefutable. One specific audio log played, a chilling exchange between a guild operative and Kale, detailing the threats against Kale's family if he did not cooperate. Another log revealed a conversation outlining the planned public denouncement at the showcase, precisely as Vorlag was attempting. Vorlag's calm facade began to crack. His eyes narrowed, darting between Sila's and the damning evidence. "These are fabrications, defamatory lies," he blustered, his voice losing its controlled authority. "This is an attack on our traditions, an attempt to undermine the very fabric of Viridian society." "No, Envoy," Silas countered, his voice steady. "This is an exposure of unethical practices. This is about an organization attempting to control an individual's life and art for its own agenda, under the guise of tradition and purity." He highlighted a specific transaction record showing a large payment from the guild to an administrator at Kalen, linked to Maeve's fabricated academic probation notice. "This is not tradition. This is corruption." The weight of the evidence silenced Vorlag. He stood frozen, his face a mask of disbelief and dawning panic. The audience, now fully understanding the depth of the deception, turned their gazes from the screens to the envoy, their murmurs shifting from curiosity to indignation. Maeve felt a surge of adrenaline, a rush of clarity. Silas had given her the space, the shield, the undeniable truth. Now it was her turn. She stepped forward, standing directly beside Silas, her head held high. Her hazel eyes, once clouded with fear, now burned with a fierce, quiet resolve. "My art," Maeve began, her voice clear and resonant, carrying without electronic amplification. Every word was imbued with the emotion she had held back for so long. "My art is not an abomination. It is a reflection of my soul, my journey, my truth." She gestured to their collaborative piece, which seemed to pulse even brighter in response to her words. "For too long," she continued, her voice gaining strength, the Guild of Pure Forms has dictated what Viridian art should be. They have stifled innovation, crushed individuality, and used tradition as a weapon to control lives. They sought to control my life, to force me into a marriage I did not choose, to bend my art to their rigid will. A wave of sympathy and understanding washed through the audience. Many could relate to the struggle against oppressive forces, artistic or otherwise. But art is not meant to be caged, Maeve declared, her voice ringing with conviction. It is meant to explore, to evolve, to express the boundless diversity of life itself. My collaboration with Silas is not a betrayal of my heritage. It is an expansion of it. It is a testament to the beauty that arises when different cultures, different perspectives, merge and create something entirely new and powerful. She looked directly at Envoy Vorlag, her gaze unwavering. You speak of purity, Envoy, but true purity lies not in rigid adherence to the past, but in the integrity of the artist's spirit. My spirit is free. My choices are my own. My art is my voice, and my path will be determined by my heart, not by the dictates of a corrupt organization. A ripple of applause began, soft at first, then swelling into a thunderous ovation. Kalen faculty members in attendance looked at each other, their expressions reflecting shock and then firm approval. Vorlag, utterly defeated, attempted a final, weak protest, but his words were drowned out by the roar of the crowd. He turned, his shoulders slumped, and quickly retreated from the hall, his authority shattered. Maeve stood there, bathed in the applause, Silas's hand finding hers, a comforting, grounding presence. Her chest swelled with an unfamiliar lightness. The fear was gone, replaced by an exhilarating sense of liberation. She had spoken her truth. She had fought for her freedom, and she had won. Their artwork, a silent witness to her triumph, continued to glow, a vibrant beacon of hope and defiance. The applause for Maeve's speech swelled, a wave of sound that swallowed Envoy Vorlag's final, desperate protest. His shoulders slumped further as he retreated, his authority shattered. The audience continued its roar, a visceral reaction to truth finally spoken. Kalen faculty members, initially startled by the public drama, now exchanged looks of dawning comprehension and firm approval. The tide of public opinion had irrevocably turned. Maeve felt the shift deep within her. The air in the hall no longer felt oppressive. It vibrated with a liberating energy. Silas's hand found hers, a warm, solid anchor in the storm she had just navigated. She squeezed his hand gently, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. The spotlight still illuminated their collaborative sculpture, a silent witness to her triumph, glowing with vibrant hope and defiance. But her fight was not yet fully concluded. There was one more declaration she needed to make. She turned back to face the vast hall, her gaze sweeping across the diverse faces of the students, faculty, and interstellar visitors. Her voice, though softer now, carried an unwavering resolve. For centuries, the Guild of Pure Forms has dictated what Viridian art should be. They have stifled innovation, crushed individuality, and used tradition as a weapon to control lives. They sought to control my life, to force me into a marriage I did not choose, to bend my art to their rigid will. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. But today I stand here not as a representative of their rigid traditions, but as an artist unbound, Maeve declared, her voice growing stronger with each word. I stand here as Maeve, an individual with my own vision, my own spirit, and my own path. My artistic journey from this moment forward will be defined by exploration, by innovation, and by the boundless possibilities that arise when cultures merge. She looked at Silas, a profound warmth in her eyes. It will be defined by the profound connection I have found here, a connection that has opened my eyes to a universe of creativity I never knew existed. Silas met her gaze, his heart swelling with pride and a deep, quiet affection. He had seen the transformation in her, from the anxious artist sketching in solitude to this radiant, powerful woman claiming her truth. He knew her declaration encompassed more than just her art. It was a full embrace of her identity, her future, and their shared connection. A murmur of agreement rippled through the hall. Many in the audience, particularly the younger students, resonated with Maeve's passionate plea for individual expression against outdated authority. A tall, distinguished figure stepped forward from the Kalin faculty section. Dean Aris Thorne, head of the Interstellar Arts Department, his expression grave but resolute, approached the podium. Envoy Vorlag's accusations and the evidence presented today are deeply disturbing, Dean Thorne stated, his voice resonating with authority. Kalin Interstellar Academy prides itself on fostering freedom of expression, intellectual curiosity, and interspecies collaboration. Any attempt to undermine these foundational principles, particularly through coercion and manipulation, is a direct affront to everything we stand for. He turned to Maeve, a respectful nod acknowledging her courage. Ms. Maeve, your academic standing at Kalin Interstellar Academy is not only secure, it is exemplary. Your collaborative artwork with Mr. Silas exemplifies the innovative spirit we champion. The evidence presented by Mr. Silas, detailing the Viridian Guild of Pure Form's systematic attempts to sabotage your career and force you into an unwanted arrangement, has been swiftly reviewed by the Kalin administration. A hush fell over the audience as everyone leaned forward, eager for the official response. Effective immediately, Dean Thorne continued, his voice firm. The Kalin Interstellar Academy officially condemns the unethical and coercive practices of the Guild of Pure Forms. We stand in full support of Ms. Maeve's artistic freedom and her right to pursue her education and her chosen path without interference. Furthermore, Kalin Academy will be initiating a formal inquiry into the extent of the Guild's influence within our institution, ensuring such abuses of power are never repeated. A collective gasp swept through the hall, followed by an explosion of applause even louder than before. This was not just a personal victory for Maeve, it was a powerful institutional statement. Maeve felt a fresh wave of lightness, an unburdening she hadn't realized was still there. The last vestiges of fear and anxiety, the crushing weight of expectation, finally dissolved. She had not only won her freedom, but the Academy had publicly affirmed it, a shield against any future attempts at control. Silas watched Dean Thorne, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. This was the outcome they had hoped for, even dared to dream of. The academic system, for all its perceived rigidity, had shown its capacity for justice when confronted with undeniable truth. He looked at Maeve, her face illuminated by the glow of their artwork and the exhilaration of her triumph. She was truly free. Meanwhile, Envoy Vorlag, who had lingered near the exit, hopping for some miraculous reversal, found himself completely isolated. The Kalin administration's unequivocal condemnation, delivered with such authority, stripped away his last shred of credibility. He attempted to speak, perhaps to issue a final threat, but his voice was thin and reedy, lost in the triumphant roar of the crowd. He glanced back at Maeve, his eyes burning with an impotent rage, then turned and hastened out of the hall, his retreating form a picture of utter defeat. The Guild's influence on Kalin, and more importantly on Maeve's life, was shattered. Maeve watched him go, a sense of finality settling over her. He was gone. The threat was gone. The specter of the Guild, which had haunted her artistic life for so long, had finally been banished. She took a deep, steadying breath, the first truly free breath she felt she had taken in years. She turned to Silas, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief, gratitude, and a burgeoning, undeniable love. He was her anchor, her co-conspirator, her unwavering support. He had believed in her, fought for her, and helped her find her own voice. Their hands, which had been gently clasped throughout the climax, now tightened, a silent conversation passing between them. His thumb brushed lightly over her knuckles. "You were incredible, Maeve," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Absolutely incredible." Maeve leaned her head against his shoulder for a brief, intimate moment, the warmth of his presence enveloping her. "We were incredible, Silas," she corrected softly, looking up at him. "This was always we." He smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that reached his eyes. He understood. This victory was collective, a testament to their unexpected alliance and the power of their combined spirits. They stood together, two different species, two different cultures, united by art and a bond that had grown stronger with every challenge. The roar of the crowd gradually subsided into a contented buzz, but the energy in the room remained electric. People approached them, congratulating Maeve, praising their artwork, and expressing their admiration for her courage. Maeve, for the first time, accepted the praise without a hint of anxiety. She felt a profound sense of self-worth, an inner peace that had eluded her for so long. She introduced Silas with an easy pride, sharing the credit for their triumph. Each handshake, each smile, each word of encouragement reinforced her newfound liberation. Later, as the hall began to empty and the Kalen staff started to prepare for the exhibit's closure, Maeve and Silas remained by their sculpture. It seemed to pulse with a life of its own, a vibrant testament to their journey. Its swirling forms, a fusion of Earth's organic beauty and Viridia's intricate lines, spoke of harmony and defiance. "It's over," Maeve said, almost to herself, her fingers tracing the air near a shimmering projection. "Truly over." "It's just beginning," Silas countered gently, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Your beginning, our beginning." She looked up at him, a soft smile gracing her lips. The silent promise in their joined hands, the one they had shared moments ago, now felt like a spoken vow. Their connection, born from a simple act of sketching to calm, shaking hands, had blossomed into something profound, something that had challenged an interstellar power and emerged victorious. The future, once a source of dread and uncertainty, now stretched before them, bright and full of possibility. They had faced down the shadows and found light together. Their path was now their own, unburdened and free. The emotional satisfaction of this moment was immense, a powerful culmination of their struggles and triumphs. Days later, Dean Aris Thorne met with Maeve and Silas in his office, its walls adorned with Kalen's founding charters. "The Academy stands with you, Maeve," he stated, his voice firm. "Your scholarship is not only secure, but we are establishing a new interspecies arts initiative. We want you to lead its inaugural project." He offered Maeve access to the Academy's most advanced digital studios and a research grant to explore her innovative blend of artistic styles. Maeve felt a weight she hadn't realized was still there lift completely. She nodded, a genuine smile lighting her face. "Thank you, Dean Thorne. This means everything." Silas felt a surge of pride. "This is a monumental step for Kalen, Dean. It champions true artistic freedom." "Indeed," Thorne replied, looking between them. "And your testimony, Silas, was instrumental. Your collaborative spirit proved to be Kalen's finest example." Meanwhile, news of the Guild of Pure Form's unethical practices spread quickly across interstellar networks. Internal investigations on Viridia commenced, instigated by several prominent families who had grown weary of the Guild's rigid control and public humiliation. Envoy Vorlag faced immediate recall and severe sanctions. The Guild's prestige plummeted, and its long-standing influence began to fracture. Maeve received an official communication from her family, a surprisingly contrite message expressing regret for their prior pressures and acknowledging her newfound freedom. It was a small victory, but a significant one. Kale, having provided critical evidence, was granted full amnesty by Dean Thorne. He approached Maeve and Silas in the main hall a week later, his shoulders less hunched. "I owe you both an apology and my thanks," Kale said, his gaze meeting Maeve's. "I was a fool to let them manipulate me." Maeve extended a hand to him. "You showed courage, Kale. That is what truly matters now." Silas nodded. "Your actions helped bring down a corrupt system. That takes strength." Kale's eyes held a newfound respect. "I want to learn from you, Maeve, to understand this freedom you found." Maeve smiled. "Then you are always welcome here, Kale." His relief was palpable, a testament to the power of forgiveness and a second chance. He spoke of pursuing his own art, free from the Guild's shadow. Freed from the crushing weight of anxiety and societal pressure, Maeve flourished. She spent hours in her new Kalen studio, the spacious room filled with shimmering holographic projections and a suite of advanced digital tools. Her hands moved with a newfound fluidity, no longer shaking but commanding. Her art pulsed with a vibrant energy, blending the intricate, almost architectural lines of Viridian tradition with the organic, fluid forms inspired by Earth's natural beauty. One piece, a sprawling digital forest, featured towering, crystalline trees that pulsed with inner light, their roots intertwining with delicate, ephemeral vines that shifted color with every simulated breeze. It was a living, breathing testament to cultural fusion. Silas often visited, observing her work, offering gentle insights and sometimes simply sitting beside her, enjoying the quiet hum of creation. "Your art sings, Maeve," he remarked one afternoon, watching a digital river flow through her holographic landscape. "It tells a story of liberation." "It tells our story," she corrected, turning to him, her eyes bright with affection. "It's what we built together." Their romantic bond, forged in the crucible of adversity, deepened with each passing day. They spent evenings exploring Kaelin's diverse culinary districts, sharing quiet meals, their conversations spanning art, philosophy, and the simple joys of a shared glance. One evening, walking beneath the bioluminescent flora of the quad, Silas brought up an idea. "What if we took this further, beyond Kaelin?" Maeve looked at him, intrigued. "What are you thinking?" "An interspecies art collective," Silas explained, his voice alight with vision. "A place where artists from all systems can come together, free from traditional constraints, free to blend cultures, create new forms. A haven for expression." Maeve's heart quickened. An alliance of artists. A new guild, but built on connection, not control. The concept resonated deeply with her. They spent hours discussing it, mapping out its potential mission, its structure, even sketching initial logos for their ambitious project. Silas, with his vast knowledge of art history and cultural movements, envisioned it as a force for interstellar understanding. Maeve, with her innovative spirit and experience with oppression, saw it as a beacon of freedom. Their story, The Human and the Fox Woman, became a celebrated example across the Kaelin Academy and beyond. Academic papers were written about their unique collaboration, and their showcase piece became a permanent exhibit, a symbol of courage and cultural harmony. Other students, once hesitant, began to reach out across species lines, inspired by Maeve's defiance and Silas's unwavering support. Their tale of unexpected alliance and profound emotional connection resonated with beings yearning for understanding in a complex galaxy. It was a powerful testament to the HFY-style emotional depth that humanity could bring to the stars. Months later, they sat on the grassy quad where their journey had begun. The Kaelin sun warmed their faces. Maeve held a digital slate, Silas a traditional sketchbook. "Your turn to pose, human," Maeve said, a playful glint in her eyes. Silas chuckled, settling into a comfortable position. "Only if you promise to sketch me with more heroic features this time." Maeve pretended to scrutinize him. "I'll consider it. But first, let's capture that thoughtful frown." Her fingers moved over the slate, confident and swift. Silas, in turn, began to sketch her, capturing the curve of her ear, the soft texture of her fur, the quiet intensity in her hazel eyes. There was no anxiety in Maeve's movements, only focused joy. No pressure weighted Silas's hand, only affection. Their hands, once trembling with fear or reaching out in empathy, now moved in a rhythm of shared creation and unwavering love. Their future stretched before them not as a daunting unknown, but as a vibrant, harmoniously intertwined canvas, ready for them to paint together.